Obviously, the outcome of the game wasn't what we anticipated going in, nor wanted. I will just reflect just a little bit on and thank the fans for how great they were throughout the season during this crazy time. All of the department heads here with the Chiefs and the effort that they put forward, whether it was Rick Burkholder giving up his summer to do this with the protocol, Mitch Reynolds likewise, Kirsten Krug, Rocco, all the people that just really dedicated a ton of time to it, and then Mark Donovan obviously overlooking all of it. So, like all teams, we'll get busy here. Going down the road, we'll take a little time off and then get ourselves back and refreshed and back and ready to attack this next season. So, there'll be things that we can improve on. We'll still have a good core of players coming back. We'll have some new additions. No team stays the same, obviously, in today's NFL. So we'll do that part. For the game, not much different than what I mentioned last night. I'm not going to go back and hit all the things that we did. I talked about last night, but I think the obvious was that we can't have as many penalties we had. It hasn't been us. Can't be as inefficient on the offensive side as what we were. In particular, red zone thoughts, big red zone thoughts. Likewise, on the defensive side, red zone was an issue. So third downs were fairly close, which is a critical situation. Not that it was good enough, not near good enough, but both teams were pretty close on that. The one thing that really jumps out is 100 plus yards with 11 penalties. So I mean that's too much. Hard to overcome those type of things when you're going the wrong direction. So, anyways, with that, time's yours.
Let's go first to Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good morning. You mentioned entering the business side of football here shortly, probably in the next month. You got free agency, but you also have a coach who's a free agent, who's scheduled to be a free agent, Eric Bieniemy. A two-part question here. How close are you to a new deal with Eric Bieniemy, and what would it mean to the organization to have him back again for another shot at the championship?
Yeah, so EB and I have talked about that. Now let's keep that between us, and then we'll get everything worked out as we go here. We're coming off fresh on this. Herbie, we haven't had a whole lot of sleep, obviously, getting back here when we did. So, but we'll get all that settled this next week, and we'll see where everything goes.
Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Andy. How much, when you do get together with Brett and his staff and you guys discuss what you want to do this off season, how much will you weigh how it ended versus maybe the first 18 weeks and how the things went right over that course of the season?
Yeah, so that's what's important here about stepping back for an inch. You can kind of reflect and think and scheme eval and do those things. And we'll get right on our personnel evals here with the coaches this week and make sure we knock that out and then give that to Brett. It'll be important that when we do that as coaches and give our reports to Brett that we do just what you're saying, Sam, that we look at the whole picture and not necessarily make it off of one game.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Andy, just curious what your advice is to Pat now as you guys head into this extended break here.
Yeah, so I'll talk to him. I haven't had a chance to meet with him on that yet. So I'll leave it at that. But, he'll continue to grow here. He's really, we're talking about 4 years and going into your fifth. So it's 3 years as a starter. And he's been very productive. And, he played his heart out last night. But like all of us, obviously it wasn't good enough. I mean, none of us starting with me, can sit here and say that we really had our best game. So, but he sure has a great foundation and great drive to be the best. And so we'll regroup and we'll give him a few things that he can work on. And I'm sure he's got a few in his mind too. And we'll talk through it.
Let's go next to Pete Sweeney. Go Pete.
Coach, heading into the offseason, now that Mahomes is with the organization for what's expected to be the next decade, how much does that change considering he is a little bit older, you know each other well, where maybe he can potentially get more involved in the personnel plans with you and Brett and some of those talks in the offseason here, or is it just not at all? He's just going to focus on playing?
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of where he's at. He likes doing that. And he's kept it that way. So, but again, we talk, and Brett's got a great relationship with him, and if necessary to talk, I mean, we don't put a wall up there by any means. So, but yeah, I mean, I think most of all that Pat has full trust, as I do, in Brett and how he goes about doing it. So, yeah.
Let's go next to Aaron Ladd. Go ahead, Aaron. Aaron, you got us? You better try, Aaron. Okay, we'll go to Nick Jacobs. Go ahead, Nick.
Andy, I'm curious for you. What lessons do you hope the players learn from last night and the season overall?
Yeah, so, well, it's tough to get here. I'm proud of the guys. I mean, I mentioned that last night that it's not an easy road getting back. That's why most teams don't get back. And then if you do, most teams don't, it's not always a guaranteed win. They were better than we were yesterday. We've made too many mistakes, whether it was me calling the plays, putting guys in the right position, or right down the line as you go. So you make that many mistakes against a good football team, and they weren't making as many mistakes, and you're not going to win at this level. So you gotta come into these games. You gotta be sharp.
Sam Mellinger. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Andy, excuse me. This is a little bit related to Sam McDowell's question earlier about sort of, dividing what just happened last night versus the first 18 games. But the offensive line, I'm not going to harp on last night, but like going forward, how many of the solutions are in-house? You guys had a ton of injuries. How much of that was strategy? How much of that is, personnel upgrades that you'll look into this offseason?
Yeah, Sam. So listen, I'm not obviously pointing my finger at the offensive line. I mean, we had guys that were moved around a little bit, and they take great pride in their work and busted their tail. So with the guys that are injured that are potentially coming back or opted out or potentially coming back, we'll kind of get all that covered here in the next couple days. I don't think the outlook is bleak by any means. We should be good there. Just and then Brett will obviously keep an eye on that as he does everything, and just see how that works. But I'm optimistic going forward, and I'm proud of the guys and the effort that they gave last night.
We'll go next to Sarin Petro. Go ahead, Sarin.
Excuse me, Coach, a couple questions if I could. I'm not going to ask you to go back on the officials and say this was a good call or bad call. I'm just curious if you do, like in a moment like this, want to say, hey, let's take a look at this. What is the process for, like sending things to the league, so fans would know, hey, here's the step-by-step. I know it's not going to change the outcome of the game, but just, as a course of business, how that works. And then go ahead. I'll give you that and then I'll follow up.
So listen, yeah, we have the opportunity to voice our gripes to the league, and they do a good job on responding to it. So really for whatever I think or what they think, the calls were made. And it's obviously, it's a shame that we had that many in that big a game. And, that possibly we're that close of a judgment call.
And then kind of where Sam, both the Sams, we're talking about moving forward. How does it get more difficult when you're this close to make the decision? I remember covering the Chiefs and people in the Chiefs organization when you were with Philadelphia used to point to the Eagles and say, hey, we got to get to where the Eagles are. They're always a step ahead. They always get off the train before it goes downhill with their personnel, right? And that was you and your operation there in Philadelphia. Does it get harder though when you're here this close to make those difficult decisions and say, hey, maybe this guy's, we've gone too far, there's too many injuries, or he's too old? Does that cloud your judgment when you've been in the Super Bowl the last 2 years?
Yeah, I don't think it does. I think you come in and you evaluate, you step back first, Seren, and you kind of pump the brakes for about a minute, and then you go ahead and you make those kind of judgments. Those are tough calls. That's a tough thing to do. But it's also part of the business, and coaches know it and players know it, and it's all part of it. And so we'll do that. We're not going to change that part of it. And we'll be clear with our evaluations as we do that, and as real as we can be. Yeah.
We'll go last to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Andy, thanks for taking the time. I know you didn't mention Britt specifically last night, but I was just interested into knowing if you had been able to talk to him since the incident on Thursday night, and how he's doing after what appears to be him sustaining some injuries in the accident.
Yeah, he did. I've had a chance to talk to him. Yeah, I have. Again, my heart goes out to that young lady. I'm also a dad, so I get that. So I have concerns obviously on both sides. And Britt did have surgery. He's doing better now. But that little girl, my heart goes out to her. Yeah.